Ed from Paranormal Link, Ohio here. I know I was supposed to drop this episode a couple days ago, but as you know how clumsy I am, I fell down my patio stairs, slipped backwards, and cracked my back. So I have been getting some medical treatment for the past couple days, but I'm not going to prolong the true crime podcast anymore. So, right here, right now, the very first episode of Paranormal Link, Ohio's True Crime Podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about the case of Anneliese Michel. This was a girl in Germany that just went through absolute hell on earth, brought by the hands of a priest and another priest, and neglectfulness of her parents. Now, do I believe that Anneliese Michel was possessed? Could be. The paranormal aspect of it is very odd. I listened to the exorcism tapes, and I just don't see how somebody can mock those languages and not know them for so long. But do I also think that there was mental problems with her? I believe she had some mental issues, some very bad mental issues that were not looked upon very well. I know that when I go to do a paranormal investigation, I try to debunk everything. Like knocks on the walls, I'll check the pipes, foul odors, I'll see if there's a gas leak somewhere. Because 9 times out of 10, it can be explained away, but there's also that 1% chance, 2% chance that it is something paranormal. And I've seen it, I've heard it, I've witnessed it. The paranormal is real, but I think this case was just misguided at the very least. So we're going to start it like this. Oh, and again, I find all my research online. You guys know this. Online, books. I write everything down. And this is just absolutely crazy. So, 2 years after Anneliese died during an exorcism, the strange voice of 23-year-old Anneliese Michel has been reverberating through a hushed courtroom, screaming obscenities at the ancient chants of priests. Many of the spectators who have crowded into the district courtroom have sat transfixed, staring at a raised wooden cross on the wall. At one point, the dead woman's sister fled the room, sobbing. The bizarre sounds have come from tapes recorded during some 70 visits that 2 Catholic priests made to the Bavarian home of Anneliese Michel. For 11 months preceding her death, July 1st, 1976, they tried to drive away the demons that the woman and her parents and the 2 priests were convinced possessed her. Now the 2 priests and her parents, they're sitting in the defendant's box, as they have since the trial opened March 30th. Charged with negligent homicide, a verdict by the 3-judge panel is expected soon. But no matter how it is decided, the trial, the first of its kind in modern German history, has already raised troubling questions for the church and churchgoers. The exorcism case has special meaning in Bavaria, the largest and southernmost state in Germany, in which 70% of the almost 11 million residents are Catholic. Anneliese Michel, a former student teacher at nearby Würzburg University, was, by all accounts, a deeply religious person, raised by deeply religious parents in the small Bavarian town of Klingenberg, where her father operates a sawmill. As a teenager, she had occasionally psychiatric care and later developed a history of epilepsy, for which she was treated. When after 4 years of medical treatment, her condition and mental depression worsened, she had her parents apparently became convinced that demons or the devil had possessed her. So the family turned to the local church for help, and for a cure. The diagnosis that she was possessed was first made by a local parish priest, Father Ernst. 40 years old, he sits in the defendant's box. Next to him sits 67-year-old Father Arnold Rentz, who was appointed by the Bishop of Würzburg to carry out the 364-year-old formal rites of exorcism, the ritual Romanium. 11 months before she died, all medical treatment of Anneliese stopped, and the rites of exorcism were carried out secretly in the bedroom of her parents' home during 1-hour sessions. When she died, Anneliese weighed 68 pounds. The autopsy report said that her death was caused by the malnutrition and dehydration that resulted from almost a year of semi-starvation during the rites. The state prosecutor, after an investigation, said the woman's health could have been prevented. Even 1 week before she died, he charged all 4 defendants with negligent homicide for failing to call a medical doctor. A series of doctors who have testified at the trial have all basically told the court that the woman died of a combination of epilepsy, mental disorders, and an extreme religious environment, which, in the words of Professor Hans Seitz of Würzburg University, added up to a spiritual sickness and a heavy psychic disturbance. Both priests have told the court they remain convinced that the woman was possessed, and that her death finally freed her. The parents also remain convinced that she was possessed, but not that was freed in February. The parents ordered their daughter's body exhumed from her grave after they said a nun told them she had a vision that their daughter's body was still intact, and that was proof of the possession. The exhumation, which authorities said showed normal body decay, was attended by hundreds of curious spectators, and the trial here is also drawing intense interest. Throughout the trial, Anneliese's father, 60-year-old Joseph Michel, has sat impassively, his stocky frame tilted close to a special amplifier to help him hear. His wife, Anna, 57, takes notes steadily, pausing, only to moan, "Oh dear God," when some doctor alleges that her daughter was possessed of a mental disorder rather than the devil. Renz, a specialist in exorcism, presents a commanding figure in his priest's robes, his long gray hair swept straight back and no emotion apparent in his face, who wears dark civilian clothes and has alert, daring eyes, is the one most involved in the proceedings. He seems to let no points go by that conceivably could be challenged. The priests are being defended by church-paid lawyers. The parents are being defended by one of Germany's top lawyers, Frisch Schmidt Leichner, who has also defended numerous persons in Nazi war crime trials. Schmidt-Lechner has claimed that not only is exorcism legal, but that the German Constitution protects citizens in the unrestricted exercise of their religious beliefs. Nobody is expected to go to jail. The prosecutor asked that the priests be fined and that the parents be found guilty but not punished, because they have already suffered enough. But the major lingering issues will relate to the church. A not guilty verdict could be seen as opening the gate to more exorcism attempts and possibly unhappy outcomes in an area where a certain amount of superstition still lives. But for the most part, experienced observers believe the effect will be the opposite, that merely bringing charges of negligent homicide against priests and parents will provoke changes and more caution. Bishop Josef Stengel of Würzburg has said already that in the future he will only approve exorcism if the possessed person agrees to presence of a doctor during the ritual. Stengel, who approved the Michel exorcism and was in contact a dozen times with the 2 priests via letters on the case, was investigated by state authorities, but they decided not to indict him or ask him to appear at the trial. The bishop maintains that his actions were all within church law. There has still been some criticism, however, that the court was trying to protect the church hierarchy. The case also leads to fundamental questions of belief in the devil and who ultimately is behind the use of such ancient rites. For example, a 1974 survey by the Friedberg Institute for Borderline Psychology determined that 63% of Catholic theologians in Germany believe in the devil and in his personal existence. A public opinion poll by the Wickery organization in 1976, however, indicated that 89% of more than 2,000 people said no when asked if there was a devil and whether he existed in the form of a being. Those figures may be slightly higher in Bavaria. In northern Germany, said one spectator here last week, somewhat disdainfully, this never would have happened. The German press agency in 1976 also surveyed bishops in 22 Catholic districts to find out if exorcism was still practiced. 3 said yes: Würzburg, Augsburg, and Passau, all in Bavaria. Those names sounded very demonic, but as we know, they're German. I believe that the priests should have. I believe they should have been indicted. I believe they should have went to jail. They should have went to prison. So shouldn't the parents, because if you hadn't done enough medical tests to rule out everything, and if she had a history of epilepsy, and she had a history of depression, she had a history of mental illness, and they just let these priests come in and do these exorcisms without feeding her or giving her any water or anything like that. I mean, I get it, she's doing some weird things. Like, she would eat spiders, she would drink her own urine. I mean, this whole exorcism is based off of Anneliese Michel. What I'm trying to say is, you guys know I can't read my own notes. The movie Exorcism of Emily Rose was based on Anneliese Michel, where you see Emily Rose going through all this terrible stuff and how the exorcisms were just tearing her down, and eventually she died. But that Hollywood likes to build up everything and make it look so much better or worse than what it really is. But I listened to the exorcism tapes, and in these tapes I heard something just pure evil coming out of that girl's mouth. Just the voices, the languages, Latin, Aramaic. Aramaic is the dead language of Christ. How did she know all this? Unless she had studied it before. If she has a history of epilepsy and mental illness, they should have looked into that more. But like I said, you have to listen to these exorcism tapes. You have to listen to the exorcism tapes of Anneliese Michel, and you decide for yourself. Do I believe something paranormal was going on? I do. Do I believe the priest took it too far, though, and didn't do enough to test if it was full-blown possession or just something messing around and just took over her? I believe they didn't do their job properly. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the True Crime Paranormal Inc. Ohio podcast. It is on the same Paranormal Inc. Ohio podcast channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And you will hear another one. Let's see. Today is... Okay. You will hear another one on Friday. So, again, guys, I'm so sorry for being so late with this. My back is just torn up. Like, I've literally got my wife holding my microphone to my face so I can do this. And I just can't keep it from you guys any longer. I can't make you guys wait any longer. So I hope you enjoyed it. Guys, check me out everywhere. Facebook, TikTok, all the podcast formats, YouTube, Instagram, X, all that. I love you guys. Go to paranormalincohio.com to check out all the crystals and sage that we have up for sale to help cleanse your cleansing needs and things you would need to protect yourself. Other than that, guys, I hope you have a great night, and thanks again for coming. Bye, everyone.